afternoon. Thank you for joining us today at Oklahoma Central Credit Union for our webinar over inflation. Today we will have Leah Bowles manning our chat box. If you have any questions at all during the webinar, please don't hesitate to put your question in the chat box. We will get back with you within 24 hours. And if we have the same question multiple times, we'll definitely go ahead and address it in the webinar today. My name is Janet Aranita. I'm the Financial Development Officer here at Oklahoma Central Credit Union. And I have Tina with me from GreenPath today, and she's going to co-host with me this morning. And we're so excited to have you here with us today, Tina.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Tina Ponder. I'm with GreenPath Financial Wellness, and we are a national nonprofit organization that has been around since 1961. And we partner up with OCCU, and our whole goal is to help empower people to lead financially healthy lives, which we know in this state of the state with inflation, it can be a little bit more difficult to navigate. So we're here to hopefully give some tips and tools on how to do that.
Yes, thank you so much. We're so glad to have you here today, Tina. So we
Thank you.
got started, and let me go ahead and we'll go ahead and get started here. So we have Meet Tina, which you've already heard from her a little bit. Some of the things, Tina and I worked together over the last 6 years, and it's been a lot of fun for doing workshops and figuring out what it will be best for people. And so again, we're just so excited to have you joining us with this and all the different things that GreenPath has to offer for us.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm very passionate about helping people on their financial wellness journeys. I grew up with a single parent. I'm a first generation college student. And so even myself right now, kind of navigating the waters with inflation, it's difficult. I also have a high schooler, he's 17, who I am raising. It's my brother. And so we have been just kind of getting creative about, well, how do we deal with this? And it's so funny because he asked me the other day, he's like, what's inflation? So I'd like to know from all of you, and you can feel free to use the chat box at any time. If somebody were to ask you, maybe your son, your daughter, or a friend, what is inflation? How would you describe it? What would you say inflation is?
Exactly. It is so interesting to hear what people have to say about it, what they don't have to say about it, different things like that. It is very interesting. So we'll go ahead and get started on this now.
All right, so inflation, what is it? Let's go to the next slide because we are all visual learners, a lot of us. So inflation, really, whenever I talk about this, I like to have the academics behind what is it? Like, I'm living in inflation, we don't like it, we keep hearing about it, it's not fun. But inflation really is just when prices increase. So the price of goods and services, it's not constant. And during moments of inflation, it does take more money to buy products and services. So that's why when you go to the gas pump, when you go to the grocery store, you see that things are costing more money. I know that one of our favorite restaurants out here, they've raised prices because their boxes that used to be, $24 for 100 takeout boxes, it's now up to like $65. So our purchasing power definitely goes down during inflation because there's just not enough money to go around to take care of this demand. If inflation is mild and consistent, one of the advantages is that it really encourages consumers to buy now instead of later when they'll have to pay more. So if inflation is kind of keeping steady and not going up and down so much, it does give a little bit of purchasing power to consumers so that if they buy now, they won't have to pay more later on. And then, of course, another pro is that as demand rises, companies increase production and they do hire more workers. So you might be seeing that in the news too, that like, well, hey, why are we in this inflation time where I'm seeing that the economy is strong because jobs are getting added everywhere? That's normal, right? So during this time, you will see that companies will hire more workers, and the result is a boost in economic growth overall.
Yes, that's always exciting when that starts to happen.
Yes, so it's not all bad, but there are, of course, disadvantages to everything. And with inflation, Some of the cons are that, of course, things are costing more. So as consumers, for people like Jana and myself and everybody that's here on the webinar with us, things are costing more money. If our wages don't match the cost of the rising prices, things like rent, groceries, childcare, all of our necessities are a little bit more difficult, or a lot bit more difficult, right, to afford. With less money to go around in the economy for individual consumers, it's possible that inflation could spike further, and that does eventually cause the economy to slow down, and it may cause unemployment to go up. So even though we're seeing maybe some hiring now, if inflation keeps going and it does, the prices do keep hiking up, 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 it's possible that we will see, some layoffs, unemployment, and the economy will slow down overall. So how do we combat this? So, we don't have a whole lot of control over this as individuals. We definitely can have some control over this in our daily lives. And so one of the main things at GreenPath that we talk to everybody about is that, of course, you hear the word budget, right? I like to call it a spending plan. Everybody should have something that is a guide of, this is what I have to pay every month, and this is how much income I have. Some of the kind of expenses that we don't account for quite often in our spending plans are those things that are miscellaneous. So we always like to call them the costly C's at GreenPath. So those are some of the things that you might have a little bit more control over. And those are things like coffee, your children, carry out food, cable, your car, and your cell phone. So these are some of the areas where you might be able to be a little bit more creative if you weren't already being creative with these costs. And the first one is all about coffee. And as we're talking today, if you have any apps that you know of that can help save money for some of these things, if you have any ideas, part of the reason why we're hosting this, Jana and I, is brainstorming as well. So please throw in your thoughts. But really, if you're a coffee drinker, I started drinking decaf coffee in 2016, so I don't drink caffeine at all, which is crazy, right? But I started brewing it at home to the point where now I might have a couple of cups of coffee once a week, a couple times a week. So brewing at home is a really great idea. And then if you do have a Keurig, you can get these little reusable filters on Amazon instead of purchasing K-cups, and then you can put coffee in there. So that's a little bit less expensive as well. One of the things that one of my friend's husbands does is he asks for coffee as a gift. So he's like, I love coffee. Anytime for Christmas or birthdays or anything like that, if they have a dinner party, don't bring wine, bring me some coffee. So that's another just kind of creative out of the box option. Ask for coffee as a gift for your at-home collection. The
It
next
really is.
cost, oh, go ahead.
No, that's what I was saying, is that it really is there on that with it, and brewing it at home can save so much money. I have about a pot of coffee before I even leave the house in the morning. And I used to hit Starbucks every day. And when I decided I was going to start cutting back in my budget, saving money, I save over $100 a month now not going to Starbucks Monday through Friday on my way in. And instead, I just treat myself. I get it on a Monday or I get it on a Friday. And that's how I've changed it. It saves over $100 a month.
$100 a month is a lot. One of the articles that I was reading too, they suggested going to, so I'm in Austin, Texas, but I don't know exactly what Oklahoma has out in Tulsa, but I know that some of our grocery stores, they'll have coffee that's a lot more affordable than a Starbucks, for example. And so some of the articles I was reading too, it's if you want to go out on a coffee date, go to one of your local grocery stores to grab a cup of Joe, because a lot of times it's cheaper than going to one of those, higher end coffee shops. So that's another option that I didn't throw on here, but that's a
Yes,
great suggestion, Jana. Thank you.
definitely. And then this is our fun one.
Yeah, so I help co-parent a 10-year-old, and then I also have my brother who's in high school who lives with me, and he's a teenager, and feel like no matter how old they are, they always anytime, hey, are we gonna go somewhere? Oh, you're gonna go grocery shopping, what can I get? So we've been having a lot of discussions around this about just reducing the amount of money that we spend. And really how I do this, especially with the younger one, is I'm like, hey, if we don't spend money here, we can go do something really fun on this day. Would you rather do that? kind of like showing them the benefit of like, hey, do you want to go to the movies or do you want to do this? So kind of giving them the choices. I feel like if you give children choices, it's really, really helpful. And having them be a part of this conversation. You obviously don't need to tell them like what inflation is or anything like that, but really helping them be smart with their money. Be like, hey, I want to set you up, to be the smartest that you can with money. Here are your choices. And once you set like some shopping ground rules and limits with them, if you have to bring kids into a store or teenagers into a store with you, really setting that guideline and setting that rule of, hey, we're not spending more than $3. You can pick out something that's $3 and that's it. And then, of course, treats are totally fine. You've got to live a little bit and you've got kids or grandchildren. You, of course, want to give them treats. I always say treats in moderation. So I'll give you a good example. The 10-year-old and I, over the weekend, we went to Target, which that was, she really wanted to go there. I had something to return. So we get into Target and of course she wants everything. And I said, you can pick something from, the dollar section or something in the store. If it's $3 or less, we can get that, but that's it. And she, picked something out that was, $3, but then she also found something that was $10. And I said, okay. And she's like, but I really want the thing that's $10. So I talked to her about, well, hey, is that part of what we talked about? Is that part of the rule? And so, she, I didn't budge, which was great. And then she was still happy that she's like, well, at least I was able to get something, so treats definitely are okay in moderation. And, it does take a little bit more work talking to the children, but it can really help out with the spending plan and combating some of the higher prices that are out there. If you do have any ideas for kind of methods or ways that you talk to your children or grandkids, or ways that you're able to reduce this amount of money, throw it in the chat. I know that the $1.25 store, which used to be the dollar store, we go there too a lot of times, and I use it as a reward for, hey, if you help out with laundry, I'll take you to the dollar store and you can get one thing. So that's always fun too.
Yes, it is to reward them for doing different things, and it shows them that after working and doing something, they're able to earn money and spend it like they like. I know my daughter always says, my grandson is only 2, and when she takes him to the store, she's like, he wants everything he sees. Like, you have to start now with the trips to the grocery store, special occasions, different things like that. And it shows them to be responsible for their own money.
Yes, starting them just like little by little, this will all help them create healthy behaviors as they grow. And it'll help them hopefully be able to be successful with money in their adult life too. Setting this foundation is really important.
Yes, it is.
So the third costly C is really popular, I found, during the pandemic. So ever since kind of COVID-19 hit, I feel like this has been very popular, and that's carry out. So we see during inflation that, you can be a little bit more stressed. I know that our family's been a little bit more stressed out than usual. There's just a lot going on in the world, right? And then, of course, it's easier just to be able to like go and pick something up. So what we've started to do, and it does take a little bit of extra work, I'll be honest, but we have really started to meal plan and meal prep and have the kids be a part of it. So when we go to the store, we keep a really tight list of exactly what we need for the different meals. And it's kind of fun because what we do with the teenager is we're like, okay, we need you to go and find the taco stuff. And we kind of make it a game, find the most affordable taco ingredients that you can. Here's the list. And then we've been eating a lot less meat. So I don't eat meat, but my teenager, he loves meat because he's a growing teenage boy. He has been a lot more accustomed lately to eating more beans. So we've been cutting out meat, not completely, but we definitely have been eating less, and that's been helping out with our grocery budget. And then buying things in bulk. So I know that, sometimes it might be more expensive. A lot of times I shop at like those big box stores like Costco or BJ's or Sam's Club. But there are certain things that definitely can help if you buy them in bulk. And we utilize leftovers like crazy over here. So, anytime we cook vegetables, and they don't get eaten, we might make a stir fry the next day and just kind of reuse them and throw in some soy sauce. So there's definitely ways that you can be creative. when I was doing research for this specific webinar, I saw tons of articles. Like, I don't know how people do it, but they do it. And I saw tons of articles about, hey, I'm a mom and this is how I feed my family of 11 on, $300 a week. So there definitely are creative ways in order to make things work. And carry out is one of those things that it can, just like Jana's Starbucks, can be a treat.
Yes, and it is for us. Like I know during the pandemic and everything shut down, we had DoorDash would still deliver here or Uber Eats, things like that. And well, I got really comfortable with that, ordering that and having my favorite restaurants at home. And a couple of months ago, I was like, oh my gosh, where's all my money going? And I looked, I'm like, it's DoorDash. And so now it's a treat. And I love when I look forward to when I order it now. And it's not a big deal because we're treating ourselves for it.
Yeah, we have a rule because a teenager, he found out about DoorDash. He has a little part-time job now, and he realized, we work in a restaurant and I'm spending all of my part-time job money on DoorDash, and we have something else here called Favor. And so we have a rule now that unless it is like storming or raining or something like that, you don't do it. You only utilize it in emergencies for a treat kind of deal.
Exactly. I mean, it just gets so easy, but then we have to remember and rein ourselves back in that, okay, we're going to treat ourselves with this real quick.
Yeah, it can be so easy. All right, so the next one is cable, which is so funny because a lot of people don't have cable anymore. But if you do, we always tell people, hey, consider cutting cable. You tell that to some of my male friends that have the sports, it's not a nice thing. It's not a nice conversation. But one of the things that I tell people to do is like, you don't need to have every single streaming service out there. So you don't need to have like your Hulu, your Amazon Prime, your Peacock, your Disney Plus, your Netflix, your HBO Max. If you want a streaming service, especially if you live in a household with other people or children, pick one. Hey, well, we're going to do this one. And if you live with roommates, split the cost. We have a lovely library network out here. So I don't know how great it is out there, but definitely it's something that I forgot about. I used to do this a lot when I was in high school. I would go to the local library and get CDs and DVDs and things like that. They still exist. You can go there and rent DVDs, and children love that actually because it's a novelty. It's like, hey, we're going to go to the library and you can pick out whatever you want, and make it an activity. So that's something that you absolutely could do if you just want to do totally away with the streaming services. And then there are the apps on the phone. So like I know the CW app, for example, like there's a lot of apps that you can download that will play shows for free. Of course, there are commercials and advertisements that are on there. But that's just something to consider as well is, do I really need the TV service? Jana, do you have any extra thoughts or ideas on this one?
Uh, Definitely. This is actually a discussion that we just had last week at my house. And we were talking about how much our cable bill is went up and how we don't even watch over half of the channels that are on there. And so we went to looking at, okay, what channels is it that we do watch? And called and talked with them, and we lowered down to the basic package that they have, and we're still able to keep all of our sports channels and everything else. And it more than cut our bill in half. So, yeah, and I love Netflix and Amazon Prime and all of that. And we've even talked about with when it's not a sports season to cancel the cable for a little while and just go off of one of those.
It's so funny that you mentioned like calling because it's like just investing some time up front. I've got some friends that they're out in Indiana, and they always, with everything, their cell phone, their cable, they always call and negotiate. And they say the worst thing that they're going to say is no. They'd much rather have us, retained as a customer than see us go. So they're always working magic. And so I think in the United States, like especially we see like a sticker price and we're like, oh, well, that's the price I have to pay because it's the price on the sticker. And it's not always the case. There's always room for negotiation. And the worst thing that somebody's going to say is no, right?
Exactly. I say that all the time about things. I'm like, the very worst thing is they say no. That's it. So, and you're right. And it is just a few extra steps sometimes just to save us some more money.
It's investing time to save some money. So
Exactly.
with the car, this one I have trouble with the costly Cs, especially in our day and age where it's very difficult to buy a car right now. It's difficult to find good inventory. And I know for me, like I'm holding on to my car for dear life. I might actually get the extended warranty through my dealership. Like I might actually do that because I want my car to last me as long as possible. But some of the things that we've done over here, especially with the car, is that my friends and I, anytime we go somewhere, a lot of times we would drive separately and like meet up. And now we're doing a lot more carpooling. So anytime we're going anywhere, we're all going together, which to be honest with you, I'm going to be 36. I hadn't done that in years, but we're starting to do that again. And then combining trips. So a lot of my friends will call me and they'll say, hey, if, I'm coming over for a dinner party, do you mind, Target's right there, the grocery store is right there. I need this. Instead of me having to drive out and spend the gas money, would you mind just popping in and grabbing that for me? So we've been doing a lot more of like the combination trips and the carpooling. And then I actually just talked to my friends they moved to Alabama because they're military. And they just let me know that they're down to one car now. They decided to sell their other car. They got some money from it and they're just sharing a vehicle. So they're doing a lot of walking. And if you're in an area where, you have the luxury to do that, and they're just down to the one car, and it's cut half in car insurance down for them, which is great. And speaking of car insurance, shop around for more affordable car insurance. So I always, usually once a year, just shop around to see. My car insurance company is a nonprofit company, and they are one of like the lowest that I've been able to find. But what's funny is that for me personally, if it's lower for me, it might not be lower for my neighbor. So that's what I always tell people. You've got to do your own shopping around for the cheaper car insurance. It's different for every single person, depending on where you live, your zip code, and all of that. This is just all about investing the time, but investing this time could save you. I mean, I know for my car insurance, I was able to save $76 a month by switching. So it was a big deal. I can pay for some groceries with that, or some gas money for that. And Jana, do y'all have any tips over there about the car, cutting down the
Yeah,
costly of the car?
yeah, I actually just bought a new car last year at this time because my car, I'd had it for over 6 years. It was getting to where the warranty was up on it. It was nearly paid off. But with the way that things were going with pricing, I ended up getting a really good deal when I sold my car. And so there was a little bit more negotiating done there because I knew I was going to have to pay a little bit more for getting the car that I want. And with my job, my car is my second office a lot of the times. So
Hmm.
I wanted to make sure I got something I was comfortable in, something I would be driving for a long time, not have any issues. I did purchase the extended warranty that even after the rest of the other manufacturer warranties were out, just in case I didn't want to have any issues. And that has helped a lot. And it was nice to be able to know, okay, I'm in a newer car. I'm not going to have any issues with this. I don't have to worry about it breaking down on me or anything like that. So that's how that helped me in that instance. So if you do owe a lot on your car, there's sometimes a good way to look and see if worth the price is right now. If you can find a car, is it worth selling? And so that's one of the ways that I went. And I always shop like you do too, once a year for my car insurance, just to make sure I'm getting the best deal that I can possibly be getting. And like you said, how you guys are like doing the trips and one and different things like that on commuting back and forth. That's a lot of what we've been doing. I know our youngest just graduated from college and moved back home, and she is great about when she's out doing anything with, hey, I'm here by this. Do you need anything from this store and stuff like that? And it really does help.
This might be controversial. Something that we've done in my household is that the teenager, he is dying to get, his own car and his own car insurance. And I've been trying to explain to him how much money it actually is. So what I've been doing is I've been charging him for half of the cell phone bill and half of the car insurance bill because I'm the one who drives him to and from school every day. So I've been charging him for that just so he can kind of get a feel for how much it is and like get a feel for paying bills. So that's something else too, is if you do have, teenagers that live in your home and they are, working at a part-time job or anything, don't feel bad about charging them something to help out with the household bills either. It really does help them to like learn and see the value and kind of see, oh gosh, like I'm getting into the swing of paying a bill, and it's a necessity. It's something that they have been taking for granted, right? Because they have been children. So definitely something that's a little controversial, but that we do over here. So with the cell phone, speaking of, kind of, having them pitch in on that, we talked about negotiating. So absolutely, cell phone and cable, these are the two worst thing that's going to happen is they say no. I always recommend to negotiate to a lower bill. See if you can get, I know like some of them offer a streaming service for free with the bill. So see if you can cut out all of your streaming services and just use the free one through your cell phone or internet provider. I know they'd charge your teen for their phone bill. Consider cutting internet to reduce costs and use the unlimited phone internet. If you have a job where you work from home, they might be paying for your internet, or they might give you, it's possible that you could ask them, hey, can I get a MiFi here? Or can I use a hotspot? But internet, we found out at our place here that it was so expensive, and we're never home. I'm home, I work from home, but that's about it. After work, I'm out and about, and we realized we don't even need the internet. We don't really use it for anything. We've got unlimited internet on our phones. My teen doesn't even watch TV on a regular TV, just uses his phone. So that was one of the things where we were like, yeah, like let's consider cutting this. And then avoid upgrading until you absolutely need to. So one of the things is that I read in all of the articles, and this is something that one of my friends who's really good at investing, he does. He like waits until his phone is completely like non-workable. So he'll like get a phone maybe once every 4 to 5 years. And it does save a lot of money. Like I know that having a new phone is like really great and really awesome unless you need it specifically for your job to like take pictures for your job, or if you need it for your job, I recommend to just wait on upgrading until you absolutely need to, because that's just another cost of buying a new phone or like adding 25 or $35 to your monthly payment and installments. So some easy budgeting hacks. Look into free activities in your area. So if we pivot over to this about budgeting hacks, there is a website, and Jana, it's called Tulsa Go, right?
Yes.
So Tulsa Go is great because we've got something in Austin that's very similar. We do free activities all of the time. And so Tulsa Go is a great opportunity to look in what kind of family activities can we do for free with the kids? What can we do for free for date night? There's a lot of like free like movies in the park and things like that. Instead of dinner reservations with friends, save money on parking and eating out, do a potluck. We've been doing that a lot here. Like we'll like go to each other's houses and we'll be like, all right, let's do a dinner party instead of going to a restaurant. We have done a lot of work here in our household with canceling gym memberships or getting just more affordable gym memberships, or doing like donation-based yoga or doing online classes and things like that. Setting up an energy assessment of your home if you do own your own home. I know that energy costs are crazy right now because it's so hot. That's always an option to look into. And then just some of the more simple things, right? Like buy store brand instead of name brand, compare gas prices at all of the different places like your Costco's, your Sam's Club, your grocery store, gas station. And then the curbside stuff is great. If we're talking about cutting down buying food at, in the grocery store and like meal planning, if you're able just to have the list and just buy it online and go to the curbside, I know that ours does the curbside for free now. So we do that a lot to save money. And then always like treat yourself. So always carve out, one night a week or once every 2 weeks for takeout for something special. And then like Jana said, hey, I do Starbucks once a week. Have one day a week for coffee or the coffee shop.
Yes.
Okay.
And one of the things too that's right, like you were talking about, we've started doing that too with having people over and people bringing things. And I can tell you definitely for here, the warehouses are, and for your gas to go to Costco and Sam's Club are cheaper than the gas stations right now. So you're right. It's just sometimes a little bit of extra work and looking to see where we can save some money at.
I think there are apps out there too where like you can like chase the lowest gas prices. So if any of you know, I don't know those off the top of my head, but if you do know those. Finally, if we go to just like the last one really quickly, GreenPath has resources for you. Our phone number is 877-337-3399. You can also search us on the OCCU website. And then Oklahoma Central is 918-664-6000. They've got a website as well with all of their financial capability and education center. Financial wellness, it's not about like how much information we know or how smart we are with money. It's really about sharing. Like that's what it's all about, is sharing the information so that we can save some money together and live our best lives possible. So that's where we go to the next slide, all about brainstorming. So I'm going to leave the last few minutes here for any questions and that you might have, and then any brainstorming that you might have in the chat. We'd love to hear it.
Thank you so much today, Tina, for all your information and everything that you shared with us. I have to say, I think this is one of my favorite ones so far, just because it is so beneficial and it does help people, because right now inflation is not just a few people or a few groups of people, everyone is doing it. We all go to the grocery store and buy groceries. We all have to get gas to fill up with our cars. We all pay our utilities. So it's just, this is something that affects all of us, and we really appreciate you joining us for it today. And again, if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to answer them. And we're so glad that you joined us today. And it's 1 o'clock, so we're going to let you all get back to your afternoons. And thank you for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. You guys have a great day.